Hello and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to do a little project. We are going to swap out our charge controller for our solar with a new one. Why are we swapping this out, you might ask? Well, it's not so much because the charge controller that I currently have isn't working. It is working, but I believe my charge controller not to be efficient for my setup. Basically meaning, so I've looked up information on my current charge controller, looking for, optimized settings and stuff. I have, two 100 amp hour battle-worn batteries. Those are lithium iron phosphate batteries. And the charge controller that I have, after looking through all of its documentation, all of the manuals, has no optimized settings for lithium batteries. They say that the charge controller will work to charge lithium, which is true. It's been charging my lithium batteries fine, and it says that just use the AGM charging profile, which is what it's doing. Now I've been noticing some problems when doing this. Let's have a look at some of the voltage settings. It'll make this a little more clear. All right. So current voltage on the charge controller is 13.2 to 13.3 volts. That is what it's currently the current battery level is showing. Okay. Now on this voltmeter, it is currently reading at 12.9 to 13.0. Okay. So that voltmeter also aligns with my Victron BMS voltmeter, which is currently floating at around 12.99 to 13.0. So between all those different battery readings, there's a variance of roughly 0.2 of a volt to 0.3 of a volt, and I've actually seen them differ as far as 0.4 of a volt. Why is this a problem? Well, because I've been looking at information on the battle-born batteries, and I found all the manuals for those recently. And when I was looking at all their different charge voltage settings, I have them up on my laptop screen right over here, right? So at 13.6 volts, okay, 13.6, my battery charge capacity, or my state of charge, should be at 100%. At 13.3 volts, they should be at 90%. Okay, now 13.3 volts, okay, which is roughly what my charge controller is reading right now, is basically saying that I should have right around a 90% state of charge. At 13 volts, my actual state of charge is actually closer to 30%. Now, the reason why this, I believe, is a problem, which is why I wanted to get a new charge controller optimized for lithium, is because the charge profile on my current charge controller, once it hits up around 13.4 to 13.6, it is basically putting itself into a float state. So it's floating, thinking that the battery's full or near full, when the reality of it is my battery's probably only sitting at around half to a little less than half charged capacity. So that is why we are going to swap out the charge controller and see what happens. So weather's been kind of icky the last couple of days. It rained pretty much most of the day yesterday, all night the night before. We got overcast right now, so conditions for solar charging aren't exactly optimum as of right now. In fact, really, my refrigerator is currently plugged into my power station because I'm trying to take as much load off my solar system as I can to do the swap out, because I wanted to get my batteries charged up at least a little bit. So they've gone from about 12.4 volts this morning up to about 13 right now. That's probably going to be good enough to at least get this swapped out and get things configured and set up and stuff. So I've already got the back of the van emptied out to get into the crawl space under the bed where we need to be to basically start working on things. So let's go ahead and go back there and start swapping stuff out. Alright, so we're going to start by popping these two breakers right here. This one goes to the panels up on top, and this one goes to the bus bar, which goes to the battery. So now our unit is completely turned off and free of power. So now we're going to go and take flathead, now we're going to take the charge controller out. There, bucket. Okay, now I need to get this one put up. All right. Gotta get wires hooked. That's solar. So it goes to PV positive. That's battery. Negative. PV negative. And battery. Probably definitely want to redo these cables so that way they have ferrules on them, but for now this will work. So now should be able to turn battery on. Alright, so we're connected to the charge controller. First thing it wants to do is a firmware update, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And all we've done at this point, after getting everything connected, is flip the breaker going to the battery. That way we could get power to the charge controller to be able to do all of this stuff. Okay, firmware updated. Now there it is, showed up in the list. Alright, so everything's all up and going. So I'm going to go up here, settings, select battery. We're going to set the battery. It's 12 volt, max charge current 30 amps. Charger enabled, yes. And then the battery preset, we just went ahead and switched that to select preset. And then we're going to go with smart lithium for now, until I can find all my battery settings again. But so far these look okay. So absorb at 14.2, float at 13.5. And there it is. So now I'm going to go flip the switch for the panels, and we should, got a little bit of sun starting to come out, so we should see this number creeping up. So be right back. Alright, so it's creeping up a little bit. The sun just dipped behind a cloud again, so that's what we're pulling in right now. But hey, battery voltage, right? It's at 13. My other voltmeter over there says 12.9. So at least we're a lot closer. So if we go back to the main screen, you can see not a lot of variance there. Okay, 12.95, 13.01 between both my Victron components. So I think we're going to be okay. So certainly hope you enjoyed this video. Perhaps maybe some of you might have found it useful, I don't know, whatever. Entertaining, who cares? I'm just here to do what I do. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed today's video, and we'll see you in the next one.